Hi, I'm Brad Knowles, producer of Friday Night Flies, hosted by Scott LeBoldis and Scotty Holmes. Enjoy the show. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. You know the show, it's Friday night, and we're live at the studio here at Spud Valley Sporting Goods in 1380 Birch Street, downtown, sunny, blue skies, Pemberton. It's an exciting time of year. We are always on the hunt of that elusive unicorn, and we've got a friend of mine in the studio today. We're not going to mention his name because he's a pretty shy guy, and he probably doesn't want to be mentioned. I'm looking over at him right now. It's too bad you can't see him because he's actually a pretty good looking single gentleman. But also today I'd like to mention it's my brother Sheridan Knowles' birthday. Sheridan, why don't you come over here and say a quick hi? And for all you in there, hi everybody. That's not Joe Thornton. That's Sheridan Knowles. That's my handsome brother. Okay, happy birthday, Sheridan. And for all you viewers out there today, go ahead and drop us a comment down the bottom there. Happy birthday to my handsome brother, single brother. Anyhow, so what we got here today is it's got a combination of a bunch of really fishy stuff. We're mixing in some rabbit strips, some crystal flash. I'll give this thing a slow roll as we're talking. We threw in some rabbit strip, crystal flash, rubber legs. We got some Marabou. There's Schlappen. There's Hackle. There's a little everything. And then we got the jumbo dog bead at the front here, which is going to help this big fluffy pattern get down to the bottom. But anybody that's ever steelhead fished knows that the gear guys do pretty good. And the gear guys are chucking worms, and they're chucking imitation egg patterns. And I'm trying my best to kind of cover those bases and take it back from the gear fishing guys. And that's what we're doing with this fly right here. So anyhow, we're going to go down to camera 4 here, cameraman. So if you can take me to camera 4, we'll give this fly a slow roll. And you can see those rubber legs flopping around down there. And that's what they're going to be doing. They're going to be wobbling around saying, look at me, look at me. And that poor steelhead, he doesn't stand a chance with the showstopper. And that's what we're calling it, the showstopper. So we're going to get started here. So we're going to take this hook out of the vise. We're starting off with a Mustad size 1 salmon single. It's a big hook, but when you're chasing 15-pound fish, you're going to need a big hook. And heavy leader, heavy rod. You probably want to chase them, but if you're chasing them on a single hand, you're probably going to want like a 8 weight, 7 or 8 weight. I don't recommend going much lighter than about 12-pound test on your tip, just for the simple reason that you don't want to overplay these fish. They're you know, pretty easy to overplay. But so we got an XL bead in a metallic purple on a salmon single size 1 hook by Mustad. Great hooks. So we're just going to throw a little bit of thread down on the shank here. Nothing too pretty, because it's going to get covered up here pretty quick here. Just something to grit to. I don't know about you ladies and gentlemen out there. We use that term gentlemen loosely on this show. But it's a pretty exciting time of year for us. We've been hard water fishing like lunatics over the last couple months here. And the thought of open water fishing, stream fishing, has got me losing sleep right now. So, to start this fly off, I've got a handy dandy little bag of rabbit strip, zonker strips. And when you get them, and you get them in a bag like this, that's going to keep you busy for a long time. I actually got that bag from one of our guides at Pemberton Fish Finder. You guys probably know him pretty well by now. It's John Horner. So thanks, John, for dropping that big bag of goodness off to the boss man so that I can tie these lovely steelhead flies. So I'm cutting about 1.5 inches to 2 inches of rabbit strip. It's about the length of the shank of your hook. Okay? You don't want to go too crazy. You don't want too much tail off the back. But I've been cutting a bit of a taper into the front so that it lays on the hook without bulking your shank up too much. And I do that just by cutting a small V into the tip. I don't know if you can you see that okay, cameraman?
Yeah, point.
Yeah, point. We're cutting a V into the tip. So get all that loose fibers out of it. And we're going to lay this up on top. You don't want to go into the bend of the hook or your tail is going to slope at the same angle. So you want to be up on top. And like we always say, lock it down, baby. We're locking this down. Nothing too hard about this fly, guys. But I'm telling you right now, this fly is covering the bases. So you got this nice chewy worm-like tail on the back. And what we're going to do to make it stand out even more is we're going to take a little bit of crystal flash. You don't want to overpower a fly with crystal flash. It's easy to do. You don't want to make it too flashy. So we're going to take 3 strands. 3 strands, and we're going to tie it in on the sides on the tail. So at this point with the rotary vise, I'm just going to move it so that I can see what I'm doing here. Tie it in on the side just beside the rabbit strip. And I'm going to pull the tail back, and you want to just pass the end of the tail with the flash. It's going to create a little bit of a hot spot. Then I'm going to go to your guys' side. Slap this in on the side. Lock her down. And we're going to do the same thing. Just past the tail of the fly, cut it off. So now, don't ever throw those little bits and pieces away because you can use them on another fly. Stuff's flashy. You can pull those little pieces apart. And now, it's starting to come together. So from this point, what we did was we went to some neck hackle in a large radiant orange. I'm going to grab a piece of that beautiful stuff. You want to pick one of the bigger feathers. So our camera guy right now isn't really paying attention to what's going on in the chat right now. So if you guys are dropping questions right now, I'll be answering the questions after we're done with the show. So hopefully there's going to be a whole bunch of happy birthdays out there to my brother Sheridan. But either way, hey, it's nice for my brother to feel important for a day. So we got stripping away the fat chunky stuff off the back of that saddle. Cut her away. We're going to tie it in at the tip. You don't want to have it too light, so I usually cut about the first little bit of it away so that it's not too sparse. You don't want this fly to collapse on itself too much. Fold it back on it, lock that guy in, and cut that little tab away. Now we're going to get busy with the almighty hackle plier. And we're going to work our way back up toward the head of the fly. So the thing with saddle and all feathers is that they all kind of want to spin as you're wrapping them up. I wouldn't worry too much about that stuff. You can pull it back a bit, but we've got little tricks that we do here at Friday Night Flies that'll pull some of those fibers back out so that you're not trapping too much, because you want to keep that flow going. Okay, so we got that feather in there. I don't know what it's looking like on your guys' end, but it's looking pretty it's looking pretty fishy at this end right now. You know it's looking fishy when I start sticking my tongue out and chewing on my lip. There we go. So we got that guy. We're just going to pull it back. You don't want to tie it back. We just want to lock that feather in. you don't want it to collapse. So you're not going to tie into the saddle. You're just going to lock that tip of the feather down. And this stuff doesn't really matter if it's down underneath. But you see how we haven't pulled it back to collapse it. And before we go to the next feather, I always like to pull as much of those fibers out before you trap them again with the next feather. So that's where this little Velcro strip on a popsicle stick comes in pretty handy. There you go, look at that. That's starting to look pretty buggy, isn't it, boys? Okay, so now we're on to the next feather. Now that this is done, we're going to put it away. The next feather is one of my favorites, the Schlappen. And we're going with a hot pink Schlappen. And make sure you pick the most luckiest feather in the batch. See, this one's not so lucky because the tip of it's already gone. So we're just going to pull that one out of there. And I'll give that to somebody else that likes feathers that have the tips cut off. But that one there has a nice little curve to it, and it's got some meat toward the bottom. We're going to go with that one. And put the rest back in the bag. This is a popular color for me this time of year. And it should be for you too. Especially if you're chasing steelhead. Hot pinks, blacks, purples. And chartreuses are good too. Don't shy away from the chartreuse if you guys are chasing steelhead. So, peeling this back. We're peeling her back a bit. Expose the shaft of that feather. Cut that fluffy stuff away. And like the last feather, we're going to get into the tip a little bit. See, it starts getting a little bit lengthy there. Pull this stuff back. Expose the vein. And what we're going to do is tie this guy right back up on top again. So much better when you know what everybody's saying in the background. Tie back on top, lock that feather into place, and cut it off. We go back to our hackle plier. We're going to slide this forward a bit. So there was a couple different options too we were talking about with this fly. We were also talking about bringing the rabbit strip tail forward a bit so that you didn't need as much marabou and you could make it a little bit more sparse. And that was a suggestion by one of our local fly guys here in town. And yeah, we might try that with this pattern too, but hey, we gotta go and fish this thing. I got a good feeling about this pattern. And hey, when you got a fight over the trough here, once you've taught it and the other guys in town are looking at it like, hey man, I think that thing will catch fish. Usually it's a good thing when you got 3 or 4 guys thinking it's mighty fishy. So you can see what we're doing here. I've got about as much of that Schlappen as I'm going to need. You want to leave a little bit of room at the end for the marabou. So that's what we're doing. I'm going to lock this feather down. Cut this guy off. Because we still got two to go. You don't want to fold it back, you just want to lock that feather down so that it doesn't take off on you. There it is. So you can see what I was doing there. And it doesn't really matter about those couple scragglers. And before we go to the next fly or feather, we're going to fluff this all together. We don't want nothing getting trapped. I mean, literally, you could probably finish that fly with just doing that combination. You could probably do that combination again with the hot orange and then do another pink with a Schlappen, and I'm sure this thing would catch fish like crazy. But we're going to give it the 1-2 punch here with another couple feathers. We don't want them having any chances of resisting. Yeah, and we don't want to forget the rubber legs either. So it's a good thing I got somebody in the background because I was just about to throw in the marabou without the rubber legs, but you want that hit of the rubber legs. So we don't want to go too crazy on the rubber legs. Same thing. So we're going with 2 2 rubber legs on both sides. Man, if anybody, these aren't rubber legs, these are silly legs, guys. I can just imagine all the people that are at home. Wait a second, those aren't rubber legs, those are silly legs. So, I guess there's no such thing as a perfect fly, but in my world I like to kind of proportion them out perfectly. So I'm just folding these guys over, going down the center, cutting them off, keep them separated, and tie them in at the tips on the pink and leave the purple, the darker. And I mean, you could probably do it the opposite way too, but I think with the dark on top of the pink would look better. And that's just my preference. And there's probably a few guys out there that are probably going the other way that want the pink at the tail and the dark at the head. So, but anyhow, we're going to tie this guy in on the side. Go back a little bit. Tie it in at the side. There we go. Go to the other side. Get a handful of dubbing there. Okay. And 2 at this side. Hey, if you guys have got into some steelhead already, I think it's time to start sharing some pictures on Friday Night Flies. I want to see what those chromers look like in your neck of the woods. And what flies are you guys tying? Let's see them out there. I'm going to fill you guys in with a little bit of a secret too. There is about to be a whole batch of new Friday Night Fly hats coming down the rails here in about another week or 2. So we're going to have some really nice hats to throw at our loyal fans. Look at that. Man, those buggy legs. Woo, they look good. Okay, so next, what do we got? We got some pink Marabou, hot pink. So you want to pick a good one. I guess we could do a pink Marabou beard too while we're at it. Hey? Showstopper. Here we go. The showstopper. And with Marabou, it's a little tougher to get that perfect Marabou. There we go. That's a good one. You want one that doesn't have too thick a stem, and it's got some good length to it. This one seems to be in the. There we go. You don't want that white stuff down in the bottom, that feather. So we're going to get rid of this stuff at the bottom. There we go. Good stuff. So now we're going to tie that in at the tip. Fill us in. Let us know how you guys are doing on your steelhead season so far. I know there's a lot of steelhead fisher people out there that are chasing those unicorns right now. We're all in the same boat. It ain't easy. It ain't easy getting those steelhead on flies, but when you got the right pattern, man, it definitely makes things a whole lot easier. So if you got something that is knocking their boots off, you guys make sure you share it with us here at Friday Night Flies. If you don't feel like sharing it with the public, you can send it to our DM, direct message, and hey, I'd love to know some secret patterns out there that are knocking their boots off. So anyhow, what we're doing here, you just don't want to let it collapse on itself too much, trapping fibers. It's the last thing you want to have happen when it comes to Marabou. So some of the time you'll see me reach over and grab my Velcro strip just to kind of pull some of it out that's getting trapped. It definitely makes things a whole lot easier. And it makes it a whole lot easier having a hackle plier. Because if you're not using a hackle plier, it can be this stuff can be a pain in the butt to tie with. Okay, so we got the it saved. Did you see that? Came off the stem there, my hackle plier, and I caught it with my left hand. Whoa, nice save. So anyhow, we'll go back, make sure we get all that in there. Whoo! You see that, cameraman? How about that for a save?
Good save.
I got lucky. We all know what happens when you lose a feather, especially a hackle. it usually unravels, and then you got to end up doing the whole thing all over again. But in this case, I got lucky. Okay, so we got that Marabou locked in. I'm going to just cut this coarse stem out of the pitcher, pull that out of there, and we're going to finish it off with a nice chunk of peachy looking Marabou. But I'm going to make sure that that other Marabou is locked in there nicely before I go to the next step here. Okay, and before we add the next feather, I always throw the Velcro strip in there and pull out those trap fibers, because she don't flow if she's all caught up in itself. And look at that rubber leg poking through there. Whoa, man. What do you guys think? Is this going to be the showstopper or what?
Also.
Okay, last but not least, digging into the old Spirit River tip-dyed Marabou, flame red and purple, which I hate to say it, but this doesn't look really all that flame red. It looks more like a peachy, orangey. Would you guys concur? Does that look flame red on the camera?
Yeah, it does on the camera.
Okay, we're going with flame red still then. Okay, let's get that one out of there. That's a good looking one. I love these tip-dyed feathers, man. Because you guys will see here as soon as I throw it in there how it makes the fly look so different. If I can get it out of the strong, I might have to cut this one out. I can't. That'll be a first. Those guys don't mess around when they string their Marabou. Okay, so same thing. Pulling all the junk off the back end. That looks about perfect. Give it a little shake. There it is. Fluff it up. You don't want to lock in too much of those purple tips, so when you do tie it in at the tip, I'm probably not going to cut it off. I'm just going to leave it on there. This Marabou, these Spirit River Marabou is really, really good stuff. I mean, that's going to probably clump a bit, so I'm going to tie it back. Let's finish that fly, ladies and gentlemen. Woo! Hackle plier. Time to turn and burn. And you don't want to get those rubber legs in there. I think in the description I did say it's a simple fly. That's not too bad. I think it's just more product management, and as you're kind of stacking Marabou on itself, you're going to want to gather the stuff that's trapped. You can polymer it a bit, but I just find with Marabou, it just kind of just goes on there nice if you just do the do.
Look, it's a beaver.
What do you think? One more wrap? One more wrap it is. Birthday boy says one more wrap. And that's it right there. You're starting to get a little bit in the thick end of the Marabou. So I'm going to work the wraps up through this, trying not to trap too much of those tipped fibers that I have. And that's the trick too with this. You'll see how I kind of wiggle it up through the fibers. That'll help you not trap too much. Same thing, work it up through the fibers, one or two in front, and then let's cut that coarse stuff off and clean this fly up and prep it for a steelhead. Coarse end of that, gone. So rich to just throw that stuff away. So there is a couple different ways you can finish this fly. You can pull this guy up tight. You don't want to stack too much thread in behind there, but you don't want it coming back on itself and slipping and sliding. So you want to make sure that you got a good wad of thread in behind that. And then finish it off with a whip finish, if I can find my whip finishing tool amongst all this mess. And the old lick of the fingers so that you're not trapping too much fibers. just like that. You'll whip a finish. So there, that is a finished product. But I'm also going to say another thing here. My side definitely looks a lot better than your guys' side does. And it always is that way when you're looking at your side. See, that's how my collar looks on my side. That's how your collar looks on your side. So, fluff this guy out. Get all that spit of mine out of it. So, that's a finished product. What we also like to do with this guy, taper that front by putting just a tiny little bit of thread in front of that bead. It also just gives it a little bit more of a hot spot too. And it won't push as much water. But some guys like to push so it moves it around a little bit more, but in this case, we're just going to give it a little bit more of a finish. Hey, what's going on, Greg? We're live right now, so we're just about finished here, Greg.
Oh, sweet.
Time flies on Friday Night Flies.
Love
Live
it.
here in the studio at Spud Valley Sporting Goods.
I knew I had to come in here for a reason.
Yeah, but
I miss you guys.
yeah, we miss you too, man.
Wanted to check out Sheridan's beard, see how long it was.
It's
Yeah.
still growing.
Yeah, I know. Sheridan's beard's still growing. Okay, well, it's a good thing that you didn't call him Joe Thornton, because he's been called Joe Thornton a few times today. But so to finish this guy off, to armor that head up properly, what we're going to do is we're going to use one of the products that we really like here by Solarez, which is their thin UV finish. And of course their Solarez light is the best on the planet. Nothing is brighter, nothing cures faster. Get out there and try this stuff. You'll love it. So anyhow, I've got I think this is a 4-ounce bottle. This will do you for a long time. So I'm just going to get coming through. She's a little bit warm or a little cool. So you'll see how we finish this guy off, and this just armors your fly. You don't have to worry about anything coming undone when you put this stuff on your fly. But look at how that changed that fly. Doesn't that just complete it, Sheridan? Hey, so now we're going to hit it with the UV light, and in seconds she is cured. Done. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got the showstopper steelhead fly, and that comes with a steelhead catch guarantee. What the hell? If we're making flies, they better catch fish. That's what I'm thinking. What do you guys think?
Oh, okay.
Let's go up top. I've got, anyhow, we're up top already?
We're up.
We're up top. I've got a couple other patterns that aren't quite as in depth that I want to share with you guys today. These would be more your guide flies. But stay tuned. We've got a good show for you. And it's, if you've had enough of me, you might want to go and get a bag of popcorn or something. But this one right here, when it's wet, damn, it's looking good. And then that's the same fly, but in a different, like a different colors. Look at that. That is the Cosby Steelhead Nightmare Worm. We're going to show you this one here real soon. Anyhow, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys have a successful steelhead season. It's just starting up here in our area. So tie a few of these, throw them in your box, go for a walk, and hopefully your line comes tight and a huge fish jumps out of the water and makes you crap your pants. Anyhow, we'll be right back.